My name is Emma Chin, and 6 months ago, as I lay unconscious in a hospital bed, my own mother betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. But to truly understand the depth of that betrayal, let me start from the beginning. In my family, I was always the responsible one, while my younger sister, Lisa, coasted through life, partying her way through college on our parents' dime. I worked tirelessly, earning my medical degree and building a thriving private practice. By 32, I owned a beautiful home in an upscale neighborhood and had enough savings to secure my future. Our father had passed away years ago, but I still supported my mother and Lisa financially. Every month, I sent them money, despite my mother's relentless criticism of my workaholic ways. "When are you going to settle down?" she'd ask at our weekly dinners. "Lisa already has 3 marriage proposals, and she's 5 years younger than you." Lisa, the beautiful, charming, golden child. I had long since learned to tune out the comparisons and pour my energy into my patients. Then, on the night of March 15th, everything changed. I was driving home late from an emergency surgery. Rain slicked the roads. A drunk driver ran a red light. There were headlights, blinding, merciless, the scream of brakes, then, nothing. When I woke up, 6 months had passed, my body was frail, my mind, a foggy mess. The first face I saw was my nurse, Maria. Relief and hesitation flickered across her features. "Dr. Chin," she breathed, "you're awake. Let me get the doctor." But before she could press the call button, I forced out a single question. "My house, my things." Maria hesitated, and in that moment, I knew something was horribly wrong. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Your mother, she had power of attorney, she sold everything." The world tilted as she explained. My mother had used my coma as an opportunity, liquidating my assets, draining my bank accounts, erasing everything I had built. "Why?" My voice cracked. "She told everyone you wouldn't make it. She insisted it was best to settle your affairs." Before Maria could say another word, the door swung open. My mother and Lisa strode in, their expressions unreadable. No joy, no relief, just mild irritation. "Oh," my mother said coolly, "so you're awake." Lisa crossed her arms, a smirk playing on her lips. I struggled to sit up, my arms trembling. You sold my house? My savings, where's my money?" Lisa lifted her left hand, flashing an ostentatious diamond ring. "Mom gave it to me," she said breezily. "I'm getting married next month. We needed the money, for the wedding, the down payment on our new place. It's not like you were using it." I stared at them, my stomach twisting. "You took everything," I whispered. My mother's response sent a chill down my spine. "You were as good as dead to us." Her voice was devoid of emotion, always working, never making time for family. "At least now, the money is being put to good use." Tears burned my eyes, but rage was stronger. "You'll regret this," I said, my voice steady despite the fury rising inside me. "This wasn't just cruel, it was illegal." Lisa scoffed, flipping her hair. "Prove it." Mom had power of attorney. Everything was done legally. "Face it, sis, you have nothing." They left me there, battered, betrayed, and seemingly broken. But they had made one critical mistake. In their greed, they had underestimated me. I hadn't spent years managing complex medical cases without picking up a thing or two about documentation, precision, and the power of a well-crafted plan. As I lay in that sterile hospital room, my body still weak from months of immobility, I began to plot my revenge. Maria, who had been there through it all, brought me my phone and helped me make the calls, first to my bank, then to my lawyer, and finally to an old friend from medical school who now worked for the state medical board. "They think they've won," I whispered, my gaze locked on the distant city lights, "but they have no idea what's coming." The weeks that followed were a blur of physical therapy, but in that haze, I uncovered the full extent of my mother and sister's treachery. They hadn't just sold my house for pennies on the dollar to one of Lisa's friends, they had pocketed the difference. My home office, with patient files and medical records, had been ransacked and destroyed, an unforgivable breach of healthcare laws. Worst of all, they'd forged my signature on legal documents, confident I would never awaken to expose their crimes. And then, their arrogance sealed their fate. Lisa couldn't resist bragging about it on social media. Photos of her shopping for wedding dresses with the caption, "Thanks, sis, for the early inheritance," and my mother, with the smug pride only a thief could muster, posted pictures of Lisa's new mansion, boasting about how everything had worked out for the best. Every picture, every post, every criminal transaction. I kept track of it all. while my lawyer meticulously built a case. I knew that the law alone wouldn't be enough to make them pay. No, this was about more than just justice. It was about teaching them a lesson they would never forget. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect. Lisa's wedding would be the stage. As I regained my strength, I also began rebuilding my network. Former patients, many of whom held sway in the city, were appalled when they heard the truth. One offered me a place to stay. Another, a private investigator, helped me dig up crucial evidence on the fraudulent property sale. Meanwhile, my mother and sister were too consumed by wedding plans to notice what I was doing. They thought they'd won, that I was too broken, too weak to fight back. But they were about to learn the hard way: when you have nothing left to lose, you have everything to gain. And revenge, when it's served cold, tastes sweetest at a wedding. The big day arrived, a glamorous affair at the city's most exclusive venue. Of course, I wasn't invited, but I didn't need an invitation. I'd spent the last 3 months preparing for this moment, and everything was set. The ceremony was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:45, while Lisa was getting dressed in the bridal suite, I watched from across the street as police officers and federal agents arrived at the venue, warrants in hand. The charges? Healthcare fraud, financial exploitation of an incapacitated person, and multiple counts of forgery. Guests had begun to trickle in when the chaos started. I could hear my mother's shrill voice cutting through the air. "You can't do this, it's my daughter's wedding." But they could, and they did. Lisa, still in her wedding dress, was escorted out in handcuffs, mascara streaking down her cheeks. My mother, flailing with desperation, was right behind her, pleading, trying to explain their way out of their crimes. When they saw me standing there, calm, composed, in a designer suit, their faces were priceless. "Did you really think you'd get away with this?" I asked, my voice cold but steady as I approached them. "That I'd just disappear and let you enjoy your stolen wealth?" "You vindictive," Lisa snarled, "you ruined my wedding." I smiled, sharp, and utterly devoid of warmth. "No, sister dear, you ruined it yourself when you stole from a coma patient. But this wedding's not the only thing you've lost today." And with perfect timing, more officers arrived at Lisa's new mansion, the one purchased with my money. The fraudulent sale had been uncovered, and the property was being seized as evidence. Their flawless little world was disintegrating, piece by piece, and I stood there, savoring every moment. But I wasn't done yet. Turning to the wedding guests, many of whom were my mother's high society friends, I prepared to deliver the final blow. "I apologize for the interruption," I announced, my voice clear and unwavering, "but before you celebrate this union, you should know exactly what kind of people you're honoring today." A ripple of murmur spread through the elegant hall as guests exchanged confused glances. I let the tension build for a moment before continuing. "While I lay in a coma, fighting for my life, these women, my own mother and sister, robbed me of everything I had." Gasps filled the air, but I pressed on. "They sold my house, drained my accounts, and even destroyed my medical records, endangering my patients. They told the world I was as good as dead, so they could fund this wedding." I swept a hand toward the extravagant display before me. "Well, surprise, I survived. And today, so has justice." Before I could say another word, my mother lunged at me, fury twisting her face. Officers intercepted her with practiced ease, holding her back as she shrieked, "You ungrateful child, after everything we've done for you." I let out a hollow laugh. "Everything you've done for me? You mean like leaving me homeless? Lying to the world about my death so you could steal what I worked for?" The evidence was airtight. Investigators had uncovered even more crimes than I had initially suspected. It wasn't just theft, they had committed insurance fraud, illegally claiming benefits under the false pretense of my death. Their reckoning was swift. Lisa and my mother faced significant prison time. Every stolen asset, the mansion, the cars, the jewelry, even the wedding venue, was seized. My house was legally restored to me, though it took months to untangle the mess they had made. Their co-conspirators weren't spared either. The friend who helped with the fraudulent sale faced his own legal consequences. One by one, their house of lies collapsed. But my greatest victory wasn't in watching their downfall. It was in rebuilding. 3 months later, I reopened my medical practice. My former patients returned, some out of loyalty, others out of admiration for my resilience. Word spread, and new patients came, drawn by the story of a woman who had lost everything and come back stronger. The practice flourished, and with it, so did I. Letters began arriving from prison. My mother and Lisa, stripped of their wealth and influence, begged for forgiveness, for financial help, for anything. I never responded. Some betrayals cut too deep to mend, some wounds serve as permanent reminders of the price of greed. Instead, I focused on my new mission. I established a foundation to support patients and their families, ensuring no one else suffered the kind of violation I had endured. The experience that nearly broke me became the driving force behind something greater. Looking back, I realized that losing everything was the greatest lesson of all. It taught me that true wealth isn't measured in possessions, but in integrity, resilience, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. My mother and sister believed they had won when they took everything from me. But in the end, they lost the only things that mattered: their freedom, their reputation, their family. And me? I gained something far more valuable. I gained the proof that no matter how deep the betrayal, no matter how ruthless the thieves, justice prevails when you refuse to be silenced. And the best revenge? It isn't just making them suffer. It's proving they never had the power to destroy you in the first place.